IVM.
Hi everybody, just wanted to ask everyone for a quick favor. We're running a brand survey right now and would really appreciate it if you could let us know what you think about the advertising on IVM. Go to ivmpodcast.com/survey and do let us know. As part of this, we'll be selecting 10 random participants and sending them some IVM swag, so do fill out those surveys.
Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I am Ashdin, Doctor, your habit coach, and today is the second part of our conversation with Malay Damania. He had just launched a book called Business Champ, and I mean, after reading it, I was like, this is such an important discussion for us to have during this time when so many of us have started our own businesses, either because of necessity or because these were passion projects that we always wanted to start, but they never get around to doing them. Business is something that is so important to learn. And we might as well learn from other people's experiences instead of making the mistakes on our own. So these are the principles of business that Malay has learned over the 30 years of working. So let's tune in and hear what Malay has to say and what he's put in his book called Business Champ. Malay, let's start.
Yeah.
What next?
Next point, what I thought is very important is what we call bottleneck. You know, we know the bottle, the neck is at the top. Why do we call bottleneck? The neck is always at the top. So normally we would define bottleneck as something that stops or reduces the speed of a process or a function, to go at the same speed. Something is going at a speed and it suddenly reduces the speed of that process. And we call that particular thing as a bottleneck. Again, I would say this for a large part for the smaller and medium entrepreneurs. You see, what happens in these companies, Ashdin, is there are two kinds of people that we employ. One is the doers and one is the managers. Okay. Now, doers, who are the people? The doers are the people who are going to execute things, who are going to listen to your instructions. You will give them orders and they are going to do things. Correct? They are the doers. They will keep doing things and you tell them and they will do it. Most of the organization, they are large in numbers. Naturally, they come at a much cheaper cost. And if you look at the organization pyramid, they will have on the bottom half of the pyramid, you will have all these doers. They follow instructions and they do the things, right? Exactly opposite to this are the people who are managers. Managers are the people who get the thing done. They themselves don't get into so much of execution, but they will have some team under them and they will give them orders, tell them how to do it, supervise and get the thing done, keeping the responsibility of getting the thing done with themselves. So managers are responsible, but they have to get the work done from doers. These managers, of course, are costly to the organization. They have to incur cost for them. They are higher cost and they are on the top half of the pyramid, half of now. In an organization, what happens is because the doers are comparatively cheaper, if I'm a small business owner, I wouldn't mind recruiting a doer. But when I have to recruit a manager, I have some sort of hesitation because I'm not sure if I'm going to spend so much, when will I get return, how much, whether I'll be able to get the enough result from him or not, etc. So there are a lot of hesitation in appointing managers. So what these people do, they avoid having managers in their team and they themselves assume the role of manager. Now, as a business owner, if I had managers, possibly I would have 4 or 5 managers and I have to deal with those 4 or 5 people and they will deal with their individual 5, 7, 8 people team, right? Now, if I assume the role of manager by not keeping the manager, now just imagine instead of dealing with 4 or 5 people, now I'm suddenly have to deal with 25, 30 people who are doers, who are not so skillful as managers. So I have to obviously give them instruction in detail. I have to supervise their work in more detail, etc. In the whole scenario, what happens is, as a business owner, I get totally consumed in my business because now I am dealing with multiple doers. I'm not employing manager to save cost. The idea is to save cost, and I'm not against saving cost. Yes, you have to save cost, but my point is, we got to have a balance mix between doers and managers. we have to have managers in our team in a certain ratio that we have doers. In absence of this, I am actually becoming a manager. I have no time then. I have no time for my family. I have no time for my personal hobbies or nothing. I'm completely exhausted and I'm consumed in this business. And then people say इनको तो इसको तो time ही नहीं है. But you don't have time because you are not managing it with the managers. You are having all the doers. So my point is, have enough managers. And when you are dealing with 25 people, just imagine who is the bottleneck in your company.
You are.
Because everybody come to me, I don't have so much of bandwidth during the day.
Correct.
I have got 100 other things also to do, and these people come to me, and then I am the biggest bottleneck in the small organization is the business owner himself. That's the hard reality.
Yeah,
that's the hard reality, and we have to do something. Now, when we talk about bottleneck, we've seen in manufacturing process, the raw material passes through process A, then process B, then process C, and the process or the machine, let's say machine A, machine B, machine C, and the machine which has the least capacity is the capacity of production of the company. Right? The least capacity. If I have got 100 here, I've got 80 here, and I've got 120 here, end of the day, 80 is my capacity of my business.
Correct.
Even if I produce 100, process B is going to process only 80. So 20 is going to lie idle and will carry forward to the next year, the next day. And even if I've got 120 as process C, it doesn't, machine B is not feeding it with 120. It's only feeding 80. So it can only, so there is an ideal capacity of 40 here.
Correct.
Very visibly, we can make out, and it is there, is very tangible, and we can see this. The same thing happens even in service industry. But you can't see that. In service industry, it's dealing with people, you can't see that. So you cannot pinpoint exactly. And, in service industry, again, we deal with human beings. So everybody's capacity sort of, fluctuates depending on their mood also.
Correct.
And a lot of other factors.
You have good days, you have bad days, you have machinery breakdown is when you have a bad day at work, you had a fight with your wife and you've come to work, machine breakdown has happened.
Absolutely. So you can't actually pinpoint or clearly make out, but it exists. It does exist, right? So the point is, again, if the bottleneck is existing, then actually you are hampering the whole speed. You are actually doing no good for the progress of your organization. You are slowing down the progress of your company. So, have your team, just give a proper thought, have your organization chart, put down on a paper, see what are the sequence of events that are happening in your company? What are the processes? What are the functions? Define their roles. Of course, all these things sound good, but it has to be done. I mean, as I said earlier, business is a difficult game. If you just go and start as a novice, then you are going to falter somewhere or the other. You have to think like a businessman. And so you look at all your process, all your functions, define the roles and responsibilities, and make sure that the bottleneck is reduced to a great extent.
Correct.
Also make sure that you are not the biggest bottleneck in your company.
I love these points. Malay, I want to give 2-3 examples on this because this is something that I've worked a lot with. And the whole theory of constraints aspect of, understanding bottlenecks and who's the constraint in the business, who's the bottleneck in the business. And to give it to an example that everyone can relate to, a friend of mine started baking at home, right? So she started baking her cakes at home. And she was like, I can do 3 cakes a day. And I was like, Acha, cool. So matlab, what do you do the rest of the time? Next time I'm doing nothing. Why? Because my oven can only handle 3 cakes. Correct? So I was like, so get another oven. No, I don't have the money to get another oven. So she very soon realized that the oven was becoming her constraint, right? And what did she do? She hired all the ovens from her neighbors. So the neighbors had ovens that they weren't using. So now she was using those ovens. Suddenly production went up from 3 cakes to 5 cakes, correct? So she was learning how to start this process of analyzing her business. Because for the last 6 months, she had just thought that her capacity is going to be 3 cakes only. She never realized that she could figure out what was her constraint, what was the bottleneck, and then increase it from there. So I think, seeing what you are doing as a bottleneck, not just in the in the business that you run, but even in the life that you lead. So, for example, many people find, feel a feeling of overwhelmed at trying to do housework that they have, right? Because they run out of time. And like we said, time is a constraint. Okay, I can't do everything and take care of my kid and do this and do that. Where is the time going? What can you do to increase that production? Right. So not only from a business point of view, but people who are listening to this, if you don't have a business, you can think about it from your life. Where are the constraints in your life? Where are the bottlenecks in your life that you need clearing? You need help with something else? Ask for help. I remember my in my other house, we had a maid who used to come and clean the house and do all the jaru pota, clean the bartans and all. My favorite story about her was that she had a maid to clean her house because she had realized that the time spent in cleaning her house was more valuable if she went to somebody else's house and cleaned. She would earn more money there than she would from her house, right? That is now business. That's how you understand bottlenecks. And I love that as an example for bottlenecks and constraints.
Beautiful example, actually. And Ashdin, you see how all the concepts in business are tied to each other. Your friend who was baking cake and she was having a conversation with you. Now just imagine you are the accountability partner for that lady, that girl, right? And just by having a conversation with somebody who is a very honest, frank, and a straight person, you just ask question. What is stopping you? I mean, how can you go from 3 to 5, and then you start thinking. So I think all these concepts are so interlinked. You can't take them on a standalone basis, but when you jot the when you put the dots together and draw the line, and then you say how the business is taking shape.
Yeah, and you need external people to be able to give you that macro view, that big view, and learn from their experiences as well. And one more thing that I wanted to share with on bottlenecks, and I think this is so important for people who are entrepreneurs and starting off, and believe that all entrepreneurs have to be hard working to the bone, working 24 hours a day, 27 hours if a day if possible, right? People are this like, oh, entrepreneur life, you have to do this, you have to push hard, you have to do this. And I keep telling them, no, if that is your life, you're doing something wrong. That is not the job of an entrepreneur. Correct? The job of the entrepreneur is to have a vision, then to have the right people to do that vision. It is not your job to be doing everything. And if you're doing everything, you're not creating a business. Right? The day you create a business is the day that you have free time. If you don't have free time, you've not created a business, you've created a job for yourself. And this is the most important thing for us to realize. As an entrepreneur, sometimes we hire managers also, we hire executives also. But then what do? We end up doing their work. Why? Nobody can do it as good as I can. Right? So the delegation out the window.
Yeah.
So, if you're an owner of a business and you feel that you don't have time, you're not running a business. You've just created a job for yourself. And remember what we said right in the beginning of this podcast or the previous podcast, depending on which one you're hearing, that you create that jobs are paid for with your time, right? A business is not paid for by time. So as a result, as a business owner, time should not be part of the equation at all.
Absolutely.
Making sense?
And so I would just like to add to what you just said. As a business, if I have started a business, I would not mind working 24 hours a day in the initial stage of my business. It's not I would mind, but I think it is necessary and essential for a person to work 24 hours a day, but in the starting phase. All right. So what I would call it a survival phase in the business, because this is the stage where, you are enthusiastic, you are optimistic, you want to do business, you want to, energetic on your business, and you will run after every lead. You will, anything that you want to do so many things. And I think that's very, very good, essential, and it must be done. The problem arises that we spend too much time in this phase. Once you reach to a certain stage, you have to change your gears. And that's where, we fail to do that most of the times, because we feel that because we have worked so hard in the initial years, right? And we got some success. This is the way to get success. I'm on the right track, and I have to continue to do this to get success. But here is where, we falter that, okay, you have reached to this stage. Now, if you have to go to the next stage, you have to, change your skill set. You have to change your thought process. You have to do something different. So that's where, we get stuck into this survival phase for a very, very long time.
Correct.
If I have to give a comparison to this, when we start car, we all know that car consumes maximum fuel in the first gear, right? You have to put the car in the first gear and then you start the car. I mean, and then you want to move it obviously fast, and you immediately change to the second gear, to the third gear, and to the fourth gear. What businessmen do is they spend too much time in the first gear. Change the gears. Once you have started off with your business, once you have got that start, you have to change gears. And that's where, you got to know exactly that, all right, now what? Now where should I spend my time? What should I do? How should I get my team? And a lot of other things. So it's important to, always be mindful of where have you reached, what stage you have reached, what success you have got. And to get more success than that, you will have to do something different.
Yeah. And what you started doing in the initial years is not what you're going to continue doing in the different years. And one of my favorite quotes from Warren Buffett is like, what do you do at work all day? I say no to people. Right? His entire thing is boiled it down to this one fact, saying that so many people come and ask me for things every single day. This decision, that decision, that decision. I can't say yes to everyone. As the business owner now at that level, which is Warren Buffett level, his decision making is what I have to say no to people. And I love that concept, right? It is the simplicity of what you end up doing ultimately that creates this business and the way to function. Beautiful.
Absolutely. Yes.
We're going to take a quick break. See you on the other side.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Pulyabazi, Pranav and Saurabh talk to author Ghazala Wahab. They bust many myths surrounding Indian Islam. On Postcards from Nowhere with Utsav, discover the lifestyle of the lesser-known Gujar Bakarwals. On Speakeasy with Dheeraj, best-selling author Mainak Dar divulges how he gets so much done. On The Habit Coach, Ashdin is joined by Daniel Lobo. He shares his journey of being a mental health advocate. And on Storytellers and Storysellers, Vinny talks to Hyderabad-based musician PK about her new song, You Don't Have To. Do follow us on social media. We are IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you enjoyed this show or any of our shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to spread the word about a podcast. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors on the network this week: Ciet Cred, Bank of Baroda, Quarter, CoinSwitch, Kuber, and Intuit India. We really do appreciate the support. You are what makes this possible.
Welcome back. Let's jump into the conversation. Malay, you were talking about the mindset of an entrepreneur, right? You were saying that the book's divided into those three parts. What should the mindset of an entrepreneur business owner be?
So again, Ashdin, there are again different stages. First, I would want to say that, what is at stake for you as a business owner? What is at stake for you? How important success in your business is for you? Are you and what are you willing to give for your business? Okay, it's not about just working 24 hours a day, or hard working will not get you anywhere. So I've given a very simple example is, in a forest, in a race between lion and deer, often the deer wins. Often deer wins, right? It's not that deer is faster or deer is stronger. Obviously, lion is faster, lion is stronger, and but still deer wins. And deer wins because of a reason. Because lion runs for food and deer runs for life. And when you run for your life, you will give in everything. Now look at your business. Are you giving everything in your business that you have? Or are you? So what's your approach to the business? Are you, approaching your business like 10 to 6, 10 to 8, so to say? Are you approaching like a novice in your business, or you have to make it successful? Then that passion that you have, the conviction that you have, what you say, what's your why? What's your why? So what is your why in your business, and how important for you it is to succeed in your business? That's, I think, that is the starting point. If you are absolutely determined, if you are convinced about your idea, about your business, and you are willing to give in everything, that's where the journey starts, according to me. And Of course, mindset has got a lot to do because then you have to think like a businessman. You have to be very clear about your vision. We all want to make money from business, but again, when we talk about your why or your passion, I think one most important question that one need to ask himself is, other than money, and making that clear in the beginning, other than money, what inspires you to be in this business? Are you here to uh, contribute to the lives of the people? What problem you are actually solving for the wide section of society or the people? This has to be very clear. Money is a consequence. Money will come. It's not that you and me, we all work for money. But if you only work for money, then it's like a success. I always say success is like a butterfly. You chase success and it's going to elude you. But you have to become a person which can attract success. We all have heard a dialogue from Amir Khan in Three Idiots. Success ke piche mat bhago, excellence ka picha karo. And we all find it very, very nice. We अरे क्या डायलॉग बोला है आमिर खान ने, all of that, and then we brush it aside. But I think it has a profound learning from that dialogue. If we really keep working on ourselves, in improving ourselves into create a niche for ourselves in our own sector, become an expert in our sector, work on yourself more then working on your business. Of course, you have to work on your business, but first work on yourself, get to that personal expertise level. And I mean, there is no way that, you're not going to get success, or no way that success will elude you, or you'll get money, you'll become wealthy, all of that. But yes, you have to work on yourself.
Such important points, like you were saying, that which was on, don't just go for money, go for a purpose. Right? Because there are days when there'll be months and years maybe that you don't get any money. Right? Money completely eludes you, just like because you are equating success with money. But if there is a higher purpose that you're following, then you will stick it out till money starts coming back into your life. Correct? And money, like I keep telling people, and I've done this video a while back that said that money is equal to the value that you create for the society around you. And if you're focusing only on the money, that means you're not necessarily thinking about the value that you're creating. Instead, if you focus on the value that you're creating, the money has to come to you. It's almost like a law that's written, because that's what you're going to be, that's what's going to come back for all the effort that you put out. So I think figuring out the value that you're creating, what is the purpose, such an important thing. You're baking cakes, fine. But what is the purpose behind your life for that baking cake? Right? So tomorrow, if nobody buys your cakes, you stop baking cake. No, you're doing this for a reason. Find that reason. I think that is something that needs to be stuck to. Love it.
Absolutely.
You were saying something when I interrupted you.
You were talking about the mindset for a businessman. So, yes, you got to find your purpose and your why. Also, so then you start with your vision. Where do you want to, beginning, where do you want to reach? I mean, are you looking to scale a Mount Everest, or are you looking to reach out to a local hill? No, I mean, where do you see yourself? That's your vision that you have to set for your business. And all your preparations, all your planning will be based on what is your vision. If you have to really just reach out to a local hill, I mean, you and me can walk up, get up tomorrow morning and, start walking, and we'll reach there by end of the day. But if you really have to reach out to Mount Everest, I mean, can we start tomorrow morning? We'll have to do a lot of preparation. I will have to, of course, build stamina like you. We'll have to
invest in yourself first, right? You have to put in that effort. You have to invest in yourself before you can even take that first step towards it.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's all about, where do you want to reach, or where do you want to take your business to, and set your vision, right? Having set your vision, have smaller milestones, which we call goals. What is your specific 3-year goal? Where do you want to reach specifically now? Vision is more like, it's more like, okay, my imaginary exercise. This is what I want people to think about me, my company. This is where I want to reach after 10 years and all. It's a long-term vision, but goals are more specific and they are relatively shorter term. So maybe we can go for 3-year goal, 1-year goal. Then you can still break it down to what is our goal for the next 1 quarter. Be very specific on that. And we all know about the SMART goals and all. Be specific and measurable and time bound and all. So
Correct.
Set specific goal for your business. What also very important is, I always talk about core values. What are the core values in your business? It's important to define, very, very important to define core values. When I started my, profession 3 years back, I just admit that I had no idea about what the core value and what the goals and all are. But having worked through this journey all these years, I think it is important for every entrepreneur to have core values, because see, you start a company. Core values. What are firstly the core values? Core values are a description of collective behavior in your company. By the people in your company. It's a collective behavior of people in your company, right? It's more intrinsic, and we know, core is like the integral, the main part of a part of the body, and it's important to define core values, because that's how you will be, with a consistent display of core values, you will be recognized in your industry. You will be recognized will be known by the people. And why it is important? Because when you start recruiting people, right? People come again from different background, different culture, different thoughts, different beliefs, right? And if there is no defined core value in your company, they are all going to behave with the core values that they know, either in their earlier company or personally. They come from there and they will start. For somebody, accountability may not be important. Somebody, communication is not so important. For somebody, speed is not so important. And everybody will work in a manner that what makes sense to them as far as the depiction of core values are concerned. So I would say that in my company, thereafter we decided that, let's say, there are speed, quality, and integrity. These are the 3 core values in my company, and come what may, we are not going to compromise in these 3 values, right? These are the most prominent and on the top of the mind for every employee of my company when it comes to working in the company. Now that doesn't mean that honesty is not there as a core value, so people are allowed to work with dishonesty. That's not the case. I mean, we are all supposed to work with all the honest and the good values, but these are the 3 values which are going to stand out, right? And these are the values which are non-negotiable. You will never compromise on these values when it comes to taking a decision. When you're at a threshold of to crossroads and you take decision. I mean, these are the values which will help you to take decisions. Your employees are also very clear that these are the values that this company will not compromise. I mean, it helps you even in hiring new recruits.
Correct.
Somebody may be very good, but if he's not getting aligned to these core values, I don't think then he's fit for the job. So
correct.
Core values, again, a very important concept, and this has to be given enough thought, because this is more of a permanent, you don't keep changing your core values. So you have to give it a thought upfront. Probably if you have your leadership team kind of people, you got to discuss with them, come to a common understanding, and then define the core values. And the entire organization is expected and supposed to work with those core values.
Superb. The idea of core values, the idea of principles is so important in a business, whether you're small, whether you're large, because all businesses will go to different difficult times, happy times, good times, bad times. Like, some of our businesses are a complete disaster. Some of our businesses are doing very well, right? All of businesses have different ways in which that they are in their life cycles. But what is important is this unifying thought that's going to carry on through these businesses. The core values, the principles are the way that you will take your decisions. And it makes life easy. Otherwise there is teeter-tottering, saying that, no, should I change my morals? Should I change my principles? Should I change my values? And they're like, no, this is how it's supposed to be. This is how we'll do it. If you're going to incur a loss in this year, no problem, but we will not change our core values, right? It is what is it that you're chasing and what is the reason for being in business? Like you said, if the reason for being in business is money, then that becomes a core value, right? Then
Yeah.
whatever you'll do is all about the money. But if you're doing business for other reasons, then the core value changes, right? Sometimes money might be put aside in order to save that integrity, like you're talking about.
Absolutely.
So, it's all about also making those decisions. You will be making tough decisions as you go along, and fortifying yourself is like, I think that the principles, the morals, the values that you talk about are nothing but the armor that we've created for ourselves, right? They are not necessarily the spear end. They're not the things that is going to get the job done, but they're the things that are going to protect you from the outside world and what is going to be being shot at you at that point of time.
Absolutely. Yes, well said.
I love it, Malay. Malay, I want to ask you two last questions. Okay, you interact with so many entrepreneurs in your life. What are two almost rapid fire kind of a thing? Okay, just like off the top of your head, you don't have to think about it too much. What are two principles that you've seen, or two behavior patterns, or two habits that you've noticed in very successful entrepreneurs? And then the second one is, what are the two habits that you've seen in not successful entrepreneurs?
For successful entrepreneurs, communication. Okay, you got to be on top of your communication. You have to master the art of communicating, whether it is one-to-one, whether it is in a small group, whether it is on a large audience. The way you communicate, the way you put your point across, you will be able to command respect. You will be able to command, you get the work done. So I think one very critical and very important quality that I would look at in the successful entrepreneur is communication. Two,
Sorry, small follow-up question. This is for me primarily as a person. Quality of communication or quantity of communication?
Quality of communication. You should be able to put your point across. So quantity, I mean, it's not about quantity of communication. It's how, in fact, the more you speak, the less the people remember what you spoke. So I would go with quantity of communication, but less quantity of communication. That's the key. You have to be able to articulate your message in as crisp, clear, and precise manner as possible. That's what, if you are able to make that point, it goes across, I think, more clearly. So I mean, quality of communication in that sense.
Lovely. So communication is the first successful habit that you've noticed in entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Second,
I would say integrity.
How would you define that? How would you
doing what you say you will do, and you will say only that you will do. So when Ashdin says that I'm going to meet you at 11, Ashdin is here at 11, or possibly at 5 to 11. There is no question that Ashdin is in the office at 11:01. That's the starting point of integrity. When you say something, you are more reliable, and it will happen. And that's how people start trusting you more as a person. And once they trust you as a person, they will buy your product and your service. Now, people don't just buy product or service because it is good, or because it, unless it's an Apple product and some branded product, it's a different matter. But otherwise, people will buy your product or service later. First, they have to buy you as a person, right?
Correct.
So you and you can show your integrity, and that is the only way you'll be able to build trust.
Beautiful. So communication, integrity, two essential habits for successful entrepreneurs. Two habits that you've noticed in unsuccessful entrepreneurs.
So actually, you can go the reverse way, that their lack of communication and lack of integrity.
No, that's cheating.
So, see, people are not courageous to accept the numbers as they are. So if you present the number before them, and they want to see the number that they want to see, rather than as the number they are. And they have some sort of false calculation in your mind that, this is not right, but they are all there. So accept the situation as it is, rather than looking at something in a way that you want it to be. So,
I love this point. So important. What is the reality versus the reality that you made up in your mind?
Right.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's something which everyone has to be very clear. Be courageous. And second point, I would say that, procrastination is the biggest thing. Doing something, doing any activity, all the activity do not lead you to accomplishment. Just because you come to office and do some activity, it is not equal to you accomplishing something, or it is not equal to you advancing towards your goal or your targets. You may be doing something, but is it meaningful in your business? Now, meaningful activity, the difficult activity, if you keep procrastinating, something which you are supposed to do in the morning, then you say, "Arey, afternoon will do," or we'll do it in the evening. And by the evening, you'll have something else in your mind and say, "Okay, let me do it tomorrow." And you are procrastinating, and the problem is becoming bigger and bigger. I mean, just by ignoring the problem, it's not going to solve by itself. It's actually going to get bigger. So attack the problem when you at the first sight, because that's where the problem is, at a very initial stage. It's the best thing to do. It's a difficult thing to do. Again, it's difficult. Obviously, we don't want to. We are not happy addressing a problem upfront, but do not procrastinate. I think procrastination is one thing which is leading to multiple problems.
Yeah. Procrastination is so important, and as something to get out of our life. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I was doing a workshop for our social workers in our NGO, Light of Life Trust. And so there were some 70 people on the call. And I was telling them about how we should get over this whole thought of procrastination. If you don't feel like doing it today, because either you're too scared of it or it's too easy, you think you'll get another time to do it. I was teaching them a war cry. So there's a podcast that we've done called the war cry as a way of getting out of procrastination, which is that you have to shout out a war cry. Imagine if you were standing on a battlefield and you had to attack your enemy, right? And you suddenly got scared. But then the chief goes, Akraman, and attacks and goes. And, that's how you actually get over that fear, and you do it and you charge. Yeah. So then we, all 75 of us, I told everyone, unmute your mics and on Zoom, right? Unmute your mics and all of you all shout Akraman. And it was a complete pandemonium of a workshop after that. It was just like everyone shouting Akraman. And then we had to stop for lunch break, and then somebody unmuted and said, "Why are we stopping for lunch break? Chalo, no time for this. Akraman." And for people who don't understand what Akraman means attack as a war cry. So I think getting over procrastination, attacking the tasks that you have to do, is such an important part of becoming a success. Malay, thank you so much for coming and having these discussions with us. I absolutely loved it. I've been reading your book, Business Champ. It makes so much sense. It is filled with these kind of practical advice, these practical understandings of the way that you can think about business, not just as, like, oh, fancy entrepreneur and all of that, but in a very, hands-on practical manner, which is why I wanted to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much, Malay.
I'm so happy to have, chat with you. It was a wonderful experience for me. A very honest and frank discussion. I love this. It's a beautiful.
We must do this more often. We'll do another podcast on maybe understanding your finance or numbers and stuff like that in your personal life as well as your business life. I think it's going to be very interesting.
Malay, how can anytime I'll be available whenever you.
Thank you
for you. Yes.
Malay, how can people get in touch with you and follow you and find out more about your book and what you do?
So book is of course available on Amazon. If they want to get in touch with me, I have my email IDs, my Insta account, LinkedIn account, Malay Damania. My email ID
MalayDamania.
Malay. Sorry, so what you asking my email ID?
No. So how can people get in touch with you? Instagram, what was your Instagram ID?
Malay Damania. MalayDamania.
Perfect. And we'll be linking it in the podcast links as well. Superb. Lovely. Thank you, Malay.
Thank you, Ashdin. Thank you so much. It was wonderful speaking to you. Thank you.
My pleasure. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am Ashdin Doc on Twitter and Instagram. You can find lots more information on my website, awesome180.com, or check out different content on my YouTube channel called AWESOME180. That's Awesome 180.
Don't you think that if everyone around you is getting smart, you better be smarter? Hey there, I'm the traveling professor Siddharth Deshmukh, and I'm back with season 2 of my podcast to make you smarter. Smarter with Sid. What's this season's focus about? Well, it's about 10-minute nuggets that will make you stand out at work. It's time to go from smart to smarter. Tune in every Tuesday and Thursday and become smarter with Sid.
Given the unprecedented times our nation is going through, where positive is now a dreaded word, Smile India gets you delightful news from across the country about people and places that continue to spread the much-needed hope and positive vibes. I am Shifa Maitra, and you can hear Smile India with me every Thursday on the IVM app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Oh, and did I tell you Smile India is available in both English and Hindi.